What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Just wanted to make a really quick video here. I didn't even bother to set up the camera, so sorry about that, but we'll make this one short and sweet. Just wanted to thank everyone for subscribing to the channel and liking the videos. Been getting a lot of views lately, so it's super helpful. If you've been watching the videos and you like them, I'd appreciate if you give me a subscribe, hit the subscribe button, like the videos, comment if you've got something to say. I'm always interested in what feedback you have, whether it's positive or negative, as long as it's not straight FUD. If you've got some constructive criticism, then I'm happy to hear it. I really like the back and forth. So like I said, this video is going to be quick. This is what I think Drip needs to do to survive. Over the last week or two, we've all been watching the back and forth between different YouTubers, different entities inside of Drip. A lot of people out there just pushing the FUD. We've been watching the Drip price just absolutely tank, and the animal farm went down. So there hasn't been a lot of positive news for Drip, but I just wanted to address a few key takeaways that I have and things that I think need to happen for Drip to really be taken seriously in the financial space. I'll start off by saying I'm not taking sides with anyone that I reference in this video. None of this information is personal. I'm not anyone's team. I'm on Team Drip. I want Drip to do really well and make us a lot of money. In my opinion, Drip as a project has really been lacking on the communication side. Not that Forex and the team aren't making an effort, just that I don't think they have the bandwidth or the right talent in certain positions to make that happen. So I think an incredibly important thing that Forex could do is start to slowly build out his team and add people that can add a lot of value to the project. Mainly like a PR person, guy or girl, a chief of staff, someone in that role that's really the new head of communication, because I think that's super important. Right now you've got the current person that's really the head of the communication going back and battling back and forth with another YouTuber. That really shouldn't happen. It's kind of divisive and it's not really professional as far as in the financial world. And that's a really good way to lose a lot of investors. And nothing against either of these guys. YouTube is for entertainment purposes. So if one guy wants to call out another one on his YouTube channel, then have at it. That's fair play. There's nothing wrong with that. But that person can't also be the main voice of a financial project. And all that back and forth on such a large scale really is just not helpful. You got to think if they're alienating each other, then we're going to lose investors, right? You've got this guy Jonathan on one side. He's got like 11,000 subs. A lot of people watch his videos, right? Tens of thousands of views. So if you alienate him to the point where he finally says, hey, I'm out of Drip, I'm done with it here, you're gonna lose a lot of potential investors that watch his videos for the content. And whether you like it or not, you need those people. I keep hearing these comments back and forth, hey, we don't want anybody who's not fully into Drip. They gotta be Drip maxis, everyone else can go kick rocks. And that is a horrible thought process. Could you imagine the CEO of Apple, Tesla, maybe Amazon, on a conference call or an earnings call where people are asking questions, potential investors asking questions, trying to get answers to see if they want to invest. And the CEO is just like, yo, they hate us because they ain't us. We don't want anybody to buy our stock who's not 100% in. The vast majority of real investors would say, okay, I'm not going to invest in it then. You're literally pushing people away that are potential investors. And not everybody's all in like we are. Let me make sure that I make this point. Both Jonathan and Ray are all in on Drip. They're both bullish on Drip. They both want Drip to be successful. So to have these guys battling back and forth when they're really fighting for the same cause makes absolutely no sense. So we got to figure out how to solve that. And in my opinion, if I worked on the Drip team, I don't feel like, especially right now, like I would have time to make YouTube videos and harp on other YouTubers. I'd be way more concerned about the massive drop in the Drip price. I'd be more concerned about the problems with the animal farm. The best tool, the absolute best sales tool to get people into Drip is a good chart. Even a stable chart, right? So people look at the Drip chart and they notice it's just dropping like a rock. People aren't gonna get in. But if you could spend your time finding solutions to the problems out there and having a PR person relay those solutions out to the team on a good communication cadence, that could have a major impact on the price. So if you want to get people in, quit making YouTube videos about how another person sucks. Spend time fixing the problems and improving the communication to the full Drip community. I think everyone needs to set their egos aside and realize that they just don't have it all figured out. I've worked in corporate America for a really long time. I've been in the financial world for a really long time, and I've launched a few startups over the years. And it's really important to note that the Drip project is just a year-old project. This is a startup. In terms of a business, this is a startup. And what happens during startups? In startups, you realize that you don't have the right team members. You've got to add the head count. You realize you're not good in every category. So you got to have someone come in and do the accounting. You got to have someone come in and do the PR and marketing. You got to have someone help you stay organized. You got to have someone who's vetting out all the new strategies. There's a lot of different aspects to look at. And one of the huge markers of maturity and intelligence is just realizing that you might be wrong or you might have missed something. I know multiple CEOs personally that make multi-million dollars a year. They all realize that they have deficiencies. In board meetings, they say, I didn't think of that. Let's go find a solution. They don't say, hey, our company's made $100 million this year, so I don't really give a shit what you say. Because that's poor leadership, poor communication, and it doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't keep the company moving forward. So there's going to be issues. There's going to be stuff that you miss, things you don't think about, areas that you're just not good in, and that the rest of your team isn't good in. That's perfectly normal. Not everybody's going to be good at everything. And it's generally up to the CEO, whoever's really running the company, to figure out where those deficiencies are and then fill those voids. I think one problem with Drip is that Forex is the mastermind, he's the developer, and that's really the role he wants to play. I don't think he wants to play the role of the CEO. He just wants to create strategy, he wants to improve the code, he wants to build out the ecosystem. I think that's the world he really wants to live in. Even though when you get him talking, he'll rattle on for an hour, I think at heart, Forex is a little bit more of an introvert than he is an extrovert. And that's completely fine. Let Forex focus on the stuff that he's great at, let the other team members focus on the stuff that they're great at, and hire a person or two where you have deficiencies, which clearly we have some, but those can easily be solved. This doesn't need to be a big old ego issue. It's okay to say, hey, thanks for filling this role. You're not the perfect person for it. You're really much better at this. So I'm gonna move the pieces around the chessboard. Ray, you're gonna do this now. We've hired another person to handle this channel. I'm gonna focus on this. It's okay to move things around until you get them perfect. This is a startup. It's not a well-oiled machine. So drop the egos, be objective, and just move a few pieces around the board. It's not personal. It's just moving chess pieces around the board. We all want Drip to be successful. That's the most important thing for all of us. I think on the one side, Jonathan has done a really good job of capturing his crowd, the people that like the way he explains things. And on the other side, I think Ray's done a really good job of capturing his crowd. The way he communicates speaks to a lot of people. The problem I see is that we've only got 90,000 people in the Drip system so far. That's nobody, guys. That's a tiny population. Out of the whole population of the world, 90,000 is less than the city I'm sitting in right now. So very few people are seeing this. Most of the guys jumping in DeFi, most of you guys and girls are in the younger crowd. Then you got a handful of forward-thinking older folks that also threw their hat in the ring. But for the most part, we haven't even pierced the investment population. The pool of investors out there is endless. You just have to speak to them in a way that makes sense to them. There's a lot of investors sitting on the sidelines that would invest in DeFi. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people would invest in DeFi if they understood it better. But people don't invest in things that are unfamiliar. If we make this investment look and sound more like the professional investments that they're used to, you'll bridge the gap and you'll see hundreds of thousands more people jump into Drip. So obviously Forex is trying to solve one of those problems by launching the new UI, which looks a lot better, let's be honest. There's nothing super wrong with Drip the way it looks. Kind of a cool little platform, but it looks a little bit gamey. Making it look like a little bit more of a professional investment site will certainly help out. But that's not the major issue. The major issue is how it's being communicated, how Drip is being communicated in the whole project and platform out to potential investors. Right now, that's not being done very well. The attention of those investors is really not being captured. We're just not seeing the level of professionalism as far as communication goes and marketing to bring in serious investors. I have a bunch of high value contacts that would put big money into this project. I know a good handful of people that would throw in at least $50,000 as a minimum to jump into Drip as a long-term investment. The problem is I can't send those guys to Telegram chat because inevitably they'll ask a question that's kind of critical because they want to know the answer before they put in a bunch of money, and they're going to get banned. Then they're going to reach back out to me and say, what the hell, Scott? I thought this was a professional investment. Why don't you call me when you have something real, right? Issues like that just really need to be solved if we're going to access this larger pool of investors that's out there. I mean, with the right type of communication and marketing, we can be adding 50,000 people to Drip per month, if not more. We just need to graduate from being this startup company into kind of a mid-sized company. Further develop, hire a couple more people, fix some of the issues that have been identified, dial in that long-term strategy. And I think a lot of it's in the works, some of it's getting fixed, but there's certain things that we could do better and we just need to identify them and fix them. It's not like a personal thing. Just today, Forex announced that he's fixed the issues with the animal farm, right? Shutting that down certainly wasn't helpful for the Drip price or the stability of the animal farm, but when you identify issues, you just gotta go in and fix them. There's not another choice that you can make there, right? How amazing is it though? I mean, Forex could have taken every opportunity here to pull the rug and just said, you know what, this is getting too difficult. I'm not going to go in and fix all these problems. The animal farm is locked. I'm going to drain it and walk away. But he didn't. He clearly wants to build a legacy. So I think the long-term viability of this project is super strong if we fix a couple of those small issues. So if I was Forex, this is what I would do to fix Drip. One, I would get Jonathan and Ray on a live stream together as soon as possible. I would talk to both of the guys and have them hash it out. They both want the same thing. They both want Drip to skyrocket. Jonathan probably has some valid questions, and Ray probably has some answers to those questions, but since they're not communicating back and forth, they're not really getting answered and splitting the team apart. Could you imagine if they jumped on a quick live stream? Jonathan asked some questions. Ray said, "Hey, I've got an answer for you on that one. You weren't thinking through it the right way." Jonathan would be like, "Oh, well, thank you for clarifying that." Right? On the other side, Ray might say, "You know what? I don't have an answer for that. Let's dig in and I'll try to get you one. Say next week, right? Give me 7 days and I'll get you an answer for that." How beneficial do you think it would be if those guys jumped on a call, hashed through their issues, we got a lot of questions answered, and it brought the team all back together again? I think that in itself would boost the price of drip just a little bit. That's not anything fundamental, that's just investor sentiment. If we're watching the videos, those guys are hashing it out back and forth with the common cause of educating people on drip and making the drip price go up. There is no downside to that. And to be honest, I bet both those guys would end up liking each other a little bit more. If you worked in corporate America ever, or really been on a sports team or anything, you ran into issues where you have a problem or an issue with your peer. If you leave it alone and let it fester, it becomes a big old thing. If you address it and hash it out, it normally gets better. There are several people that I didn't like first off, and after we hashed it out, they became one of my favorite people. So I think we've got the potential for that to happen here, and I would love to see it. So 4X, if you're listening, get those two guys on a live stream together. Let's hash it out and let's bring the community back together again. Second would be hire a PR person, kind of that chief of staff role. Hopefully someone who has some experience in the financial space, because if you got somebody who can bridge that gap between this kind of trendy new project, this new DeFi space that's kind of edgy and different, and tie that back into the normal financial world, it's game over. Someone who can speak the language of the universal investor will make one of the most massive impacts on the perception of drip that we've seen. And again, it's no knock on anybody who's been filling that role up to this point. It's just a growing startup. It's time to get some new blood in there. And this is a really easy thing we could solve and make a massive difference. Another thing I think we should do is stop kicking people out of the Telegram. I think you should force people to ask questions in another chat feed. Everyone compiling those questions all week, and then either weekly or bi-weekly, there's a Q&A. And that PR person could come in and say, hey, here's the 5 most commonly answered questions or asked questions. Here's the answers. We don't know the answer to this, but we're working on it. Here's when you should hear more about it. Here's the answer to these questions. And then anybody who asks kind of a stupid newbie question, just send them to an FAQs page. There's nothing wrong with that. If some newbie jumps in and they don't know what they're doing in the DeFi space, let's not belittle them. Let's just say, hey man, that question's been asked a few times. I'll tag you in the FAQ page, read through that. And if you have any questions, ask them in the question chat. We'll address it on the weekly call. Unless you are seriously promoting FUD or just putting a nonsense in the chat, you should not be banned from these Telegram groups. It makes no sense, it's not professional, and any high value investor is going to see that and think it's childish. So let's find a way to fix it. Let's create a mechanism for people to ask serious questions and then get answers in a timely manner. And the last thing that could possibly happen, I know this one's kind of a long shot, but frankly, 4X could dox himself. I know he's come out in the past and talked about why that's not necessary and he doesn't want to do it, but I do know there's a handful of investors that's a really big concern to them. They won't jump in if there's an anonymous team. So I know this is a big long shot, but it just seems like something that could really easily be done. And if 4X wants to eventually build a really big legacy for himself, I don't think he can remain anonymous and still make a really large impact in the space. It's possible, but it would certainly add to the validity of the project if he was able to dox himself. So if you're up for it, 4X, knock it out. Hopefully that'll skyrocket the drip price just because people will feel comfortable with knowing who's driving the ship. So that's just my basic breakdown. I think if we do those things, drip has an extremely bright future. I love that 4X is just about finished with the fix on the animal farm. That issue with the animal farm put us, 10 days or 2 weeks behind. 4X was supposed to jump over and focus on marketing, get that drip price back up, and this just kind of threw a wrench in that plans, but that's a temporary issue. Just today when 4X announced that the animal farm fix was just about finished, the price of drip jumped like $10. I mean, we're already up at 57.68, which is awesome. It's great to see it back above 50. I'd love to see this thing keep climbing. And I think the more positive news we can get out there, the better. So I'm pleading with the team, just make a couple little fixes and I promise drip's gonna have a much brighter future. So for me personally, my strategy hasn't changed. When I got into drip, I planned to hydrate for at least 6 months before I did anything. So for me, I'm not really even concerned what the overall price is until around June, where I plan to maybe take some of my initial investment back. Now, of course, I don't want to see the price plummet. I'd like to see some stability here. But even if it were just to hang in the 50 range for a couple of weeks, we just need to see some sort of price stability so investors don't look at the chart and just think it's straight dropping like a rock and there's no reason to get in now. Once it builds some stability and has a few up days, builds a little base of support, you're going to start to see investors feel a little bit more confident about getting in because drip's not in free fall. You're going to start to put some additional money in and we'll start to see the price climb back up. Special thank you to everybody who has joined the team. I got 67 directs right now. About 30 of those are people that I know personally, so roughly 37 of them are just you folks from YouTube. So extremely appreciative of that. Yesterday I did an airdrop to about a dozen people, so if you're one of those guys, congratulations. In a few more days we'll do another airdrop and just keep them going. We're also going to be donating to some charitable causes. I think it's really important to give back, and if this drip price can get up a little bit, we can make a much larger impact on those charitable fronts. If you're feeling good about Drip like I am, especially since we had a $10 increase in price today, then you're welcome to join my team. I'll post my buddy code down below. I'm not acting as a financial advisor here. Do your own research if you want to jump in and get into this project. I think it's cool, but what does my opinion matter, right? You need to look into it, see if you like it, and if you feel good about it, join the team. I think Drip is going to do some really great things over the next 6 months. So know that with any investment, there's risk, and particularly with this investment, you're much more benefited if you look at it as a long-term investment and not quick cash. So just be aware of that for Drip and really with any other DeFi project. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you on the next one.